Mr. Reed? We're going to stay actually. Call this Board of Supervisors meeting that was continued from this afternoon to order. We will move on to public comments. So today you have a couple public hearings. If you are here to speak about one of those public hearings, there will be an opportunity to speak directly to them. If you want to speak in public comments just about general things in the county, this is also an opportunity to speak about that. No one has signed up on the public comment sheet. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak? Hearing none, I will now close the public comment section of this agenda. Moving on to public hearings. Ordinance 2023-05, amendment to Chapter 11, taxation, Article 2, real property tax. Candy.
So the authority for this proposed amendment is Virginia State Code, Title 58.1, 3219. It's C. Article 2.3 provides for exemption for Article 2.3 provides for exemption for disabled veterans. Article 2.4 provides for exemption for surviving spouses of members of the armed forces killed in action. The purpose of this amendment is because the county has been administering and providing these real property tax relief exemptions per the state code. However, they were not added to the county code as is required. The proposed ordinance amendments mirror the language of the state code provisions. The proposed Division 4 of Chapter 11 Taxation, Article 2, Real Property Tax of the County Code would be added, providing for real property tax exemptions for the surviving spouse of any member of the U.S. Armed Forces killed in action and disabled veterans and/or their surviving spouses. Section 11-68, real property tax exemption for surviving spouse of any member of the armed forces of the United States who was killed in action, would provide for the application of tax years beginning on or after January 1, 2015. Total tax exemption applies to those dwellings with assessed values in the most recently ended tax year that are not in excess of the average assessed value for such year on properties owned single-family residential. If applicable, the portion of the value in excess of the average assessed value would be taxable. The surviving spouse qualifies for this exemption as long as they don't remarry. New section 11-69 details the application for the exemption. The surviving spouse claiming the exemption under 11-68 must file an application with the Commissioner of Revenue that provides the stated information. The surviving spouse is required to refile the information originally provided only if the principal place of residence changes. The surviving spouse is required to promptly notify the Commissioner of Revenue of any remarriage. Section 11-70 is the exemption for disabled veterans and the surviving spouse. This applies to tax years beginning on or after January 1, 2015. It applies to veterans rated by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs to have a 100% service-connected, permanent, and total disability on or after January 1, 2011. It applies to said disabled veterans' principal place of residence and land not exceeding 1 acre. It applies to the surviving spouse of an eligible veteran under this section as long as the death of the veteran occurred on or after January 1, 2011. The surviving spouse qualifies for the exemption as long as they don't remarry, and the qualifying surviving spouse is not restricted from moving to a different principal place of residence. Section 11-71 provides for the application for the exemption. The veteran or surviving spouse claiming the exemption under Section 11-70 must file an application with the Commissioner of Revenue that provides the stated information. The veteran is required to refile the information originally provided only if the veteran's principal place of residence changes, and the surviving spouse claiming the exemption is required to provide documentation that the veteran's death occurred on or after January 1 of 2011. An optional additional section that is not currently included in the proposed ordinance is relative to appeals. It would be the board's option to add this section, which details how someone could appeal to the Department of Veteran Services on their application. So the state law reference there is Virginia Code 58.1, 32.7, 3219.7. Next steps would be to conduct a public hearing to receive citizen input on the proposed ordinance. Consider including the optional additional section 11-72 appeals, or consider adoption of the proposed ordinance 2023-05 as presented, which is required, or as amended, including the optional section 11-72 appeals.
On the appeals, so we would be approving 2023-05, and if the board wanted to have the appeals, we would say amended with section 1172.
Yes, that would be correct.
Before we open the public hearing, does anybody have any questions about 1172? Randy, do you think that's a no-brainer? I think it's adding the amended 1172.
I don't see any.
I don't have any issues.
I asked Mr. Payne about it. He just said he didn't think enacting an exemption required inclusion of the appeal rights. However, it could be added before final vote, and additional advertising was not necessary.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's just do it with the,
Having it there makes it pretty clear.
yeah,
Options are as opposed to.
there's no reason to add it. Okay, I didn't have any. All right. Thank you, Candy. We will now go to the public hearing. We now open public hearing for ordinance 2023-05, amendment to chapter 11, taxation, article 2, real property tax. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak to this? Okay, hearing none. We will now close the public hearing referencing ordinance 2023-05. It is the chair's suggestion to the board that we approve adoption of the proposed ordinance 2023-05 with the amended section 1172 appeals. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Barton. Is there any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, we will do a roll call vote.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Rutherford?
Yes. Okay. Moving on. Review of special use permit number 2017-01 Festival Grounds. I like the quotes. Oh.
Just trying to get.
Quote unquote.
Oh.
Okay.
Sorry.
Did you try that?
You won't let me turn it, Mr.
Yeah,
Harvey.
we'll let us rotate it.
Something about that software doesn't allow it to work. I don't know why. This is the resolution. To include, make it clear. Do you have that?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Okay. So on April 11, 2017, Board of Supervisors approved SUP 2017-01 for a festival grounds use on property zoned at A1 Agriculture located in Arrington. This is Locken, Oak Ridge, and the Goodland property shown on this map here. Festival grounds are defined in Article 24 of the zoning ordinance as the use of land for the hosting and operation of Category 3 temporary events and construction, erection, or other use of structures or other improvements, temporary or permanent, associated with Category 3 temporary events. The minimum acreage for festival grounds is 250 acres. Contiguous parcels under the same or different ownership or control may be aggregated to attain the minimum acreage if contiguous parcels are under different ownership or control. The owner or agent for each parcel must formally authorize the application for a festival ground special use permit. This special use permit covers a total of 974.82 acres and consists of these parcels here on the map. Category 3 temporary events are those events having or projecting more than 10,000 attendees and requires a festival grounds SUP. The approval of the SUP 2017-01 authorized the properties for festival grounds use. However, each individual event requires individual permitting. This means that each event requires a new application and fee with current transportation plan, safety plan, and site plan. Section 24-2-E2 requires that a festival grounds SUP shall be automatically reviewed at a public hearing conducted by the Board of Supervisors every 5 years after the initial issuance, after which the board may revoke or modify the terms and conditions of SUP. At the time of approval, the only modifications was an adjustment to the event time limits, which is detailed on page 2 of the attached 2017 staff report. There were no additional conditions. The owners have confirmed that there are no changes in ownership to the associated parcels. And we do have Ms. Reagan Holland Thompson was not able to be here. She provided a narrative, and we have Mr. Clinton Biddick here also who can speak to this review.
Okay.
So, does the board have
Any questions for Candy at this time? We'll have the applicant up.
Good afternoon. So, I'm here on behalf of everyone, but I'm a direct employee of Locken. Locken LLC is basically, I am the only full-time employee of Locken LLC, and I work and reside here in Arrington at the facility there. So the narrative basically goes into that, Locken Farm is a 390-acre property in Arrington, Virginia. And at the farm, we have hosted many events such as the long-running Locken Festival, the Festi, Blue Ridge Rock Fest, Spartan Race, Overland Experience, along with a number of one-off music shows and local events and weddings. Locken Farm works with its cohorts of the SUP symbiotically to produce venues that are suitable for many applications and allows us to pivot if the need arises due to weather and traffic concerns. We've invested millions in infrastructure upgrades on the farm to ensure a facility that is fully capable. Locken Farm has an office building with a bunkhouse, farmhouse, storage building, several miles of gravel roads, a sculpted grass amphitheater, a private well-fed 50,000-gallon potable water distribution system, a large septic disposal system, a fiber optic network, and extensive underground electrical grid, all while restoring and maintaining the historical value and charm of the property. Over the last number of years, the hosted events have contributed immensely to the local economy and community, both directly and indirectly. We work with all of our local agencies to ensure a cohesive community with the county entities, its residents, and the event itself. We continue to look forward to the future of the property with various events and upgrades. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for the applicant at this time? Hearing none, we'll go to the public hearing. Okay. I will now open the public hearing for review of special use permit number 2017-01 Festival Grounds. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak to it? Pause. 3 minutes. Yeah, come on up. State your name and address for the record. You got 3 minutes. Might take a couple more seconds. Chair will give you a couple more seconds.
Eric Keene, 1560 Wilson Road in Arrington, Virginia. I'm trying to unravel the multiple layers associated with special use permits in that area. And I'm learning that there's multiple layers associated with that, and that there's exemptions associated with by right ag use, and there are permits associated with the fairgrounds. My main concern revolves around Wilson Road, the bridge that's on Wilson Road, and the use of that area and that structure inappropriately. Mr. Bibb mentioned the Blue Ridge Rock Fest. I don't exactly know what happened at that particular event, but there was thousands of cars that ended up coming down Wilson Road and across the bridge that goes over the railroad tracks there. And there's other events, although they may not be directly tied to this event, are being approved by the same, I believe, are being approved by the same individual associated with directing traffic, utilizing the county resources, namely the bridge at Wilson Road, in ways that should not impact my immediate residential area. So I would urge you all, as the board, to consider, although I don't really want to speak against the approval of the permit, my goal today is to be recognized that there are approval processes that are maybe not encompassing the resources that are being used by these permits. And I would appreciate that both the board and the folks that approve these individual permits look at all aspects of the usage, not just what's there close to 29 on Diggs Road and Oak Ridge Road. Thank you.
Question.
To staff,
What you're saying is, when there is an event, you want us to look at that event individually,
I
to
see.
look at the impact of it.
Yeah, I don't know, I don't know if it's appropriate to ask questions, but does the board approve the individual permits for each event? Or does the planning and zoning check those off? Because I don't think due diligence is being done with certain events within the area in terms of the usage of the bridge and Wilson Road directly.
Skip it. Those questions would be related to the regulators such as planning and zoning and their relationship with VDOT. If I were to look at those particular instances, we can instruct staff to make sure that they're confirming that proper VDOT permitting has been done.
Try to confirm what.
I got you.
this gentleman
We
had-
just-
What he's concerned with.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to be cooperative.
I'm trying to be very cooperative with all involved. But as you well know, that bridge that goes over the railroad tracks is decrepit, and shuffling additional traffic across it for any reason whatsoever makes no rational sense.
I got you.
Well,
We-
that bridge is to be replaced. Isn't that-
That's a VDOT related item.
Right.
That is not a county related
I-
item. Yeah. Thank you,
just
sir.
in terms-
Appreciate it, Mr. King. Moving on, is there anyone else who wishes to speak to special use permit 020? Where am I? That's the wrong one. 2017, or special use permit 2017-01. That's right. I think you know.
Gentleman, Heather Goodwin, I'm here this evening on behalf of Oak Ridge, and I think I did not plan to speak, but I think I can answer some of the questions. Hopefully, this gentleman's mind these. It's our understanding that VDOT is in the process of finalizing their construction plans for the bridge. The design has already been completed. They're in the process of negotiating with us a laydown area for that necessary construction. And unfortunately, as a result of that construction, that pathway down Wilson Road going on to Oak Ridge Road is going to be shut down for quite some time while they make that change. We completely agree the bridge is not in good shape. I've actually seen the images from underneath the bridge. It scares me to death. But from Oak Ridge's standpoint, I can't speak for the other properties here. Obviously, we comply with any recommendations, regulations of any of the entities, VDOT, planning and zoning, health department that are involved in these permits. This process simply allows us to engage in a more expedient fashion with larger events that do come in for very brief periods of time, provide lodging, meals tax, an influx of individuals to drop tax dollars in this county and leave without the infrastructure requirements. So we would ask you to go ahead and approve the renewal. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else who wishes to speak in reference to special use permit 2017-01? Hearing none, we will close the public comment section referencing special use permit 2017-01. I'm used to saying 17. So, ma'am, did you want to speak in public comments?
Yes.
You got
It's
co-
my chance, it has to do with the disabled veterans. Can I speak on that?
We approved it.
Pardon?
We approved it.
Oh, okay. But what do we do about, the year my husband died in 87?
Yes, ma'am.
So,
We probably need to talk to the treasurer, or that's the commissioner of revenue. That's them, and they'd have to tell you what the best way to go about that is. We don't really do anything on that.
Yeah, that would require a general assembly amendment to the state code.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah,
why they did it
so-
that way, but that's-
Yeah.
I know.
But we're not going to be able to answer your questions because we're in a living meeting right now. So we got to go back to our business if that's okay.
The year
Thank you.
confuses me because disabled veteran of any war is disabled.
I can understand you, but we ain't the group to talk. We'll help you best we can after the meeting, okay? Thank you, ma'am. All right, back to the special use permit 2017-01 Festival Grounds. Does the board have any questions of the applicant or staff at this time? Does everyone have resolution R 2023-49 in front of them? You have three options. One is to reapprove special use permit 2017-01 Festival Grounds without modifications. Option two reapproves the special use permit Festival Grounds with modifications, and we list them. Option three is to revoke the special use permit. What is the board's wishes on this? It would be the chair's suggestion we pick option one, reapproving the special use permit 2017-07 Festival Grounds without modifications.
You know, I'm aware of the amount of time that was spent on this initially.
Sure.
And I have to believe that we should reapprove it.
All right,
Please.
is that a motion?
I motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second for Mr. Harvey. Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, we'll do a roll call vote.
Mr. Harvey,
Yes.
Mr. Barton,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Rutherford.
Yes,
And just to clarify, this is without any modification.
option one.
Option.
Thank you so much.
All right. All right, any other business that this board needs to talk about at this time? Candy, do you got anything we need to do?
No, except continue the meeting until August 2nd at 2 p.m. for the work session.
Okay, can we get a motion to continue the meeting to August 2nd at 2 p.m.?
We finished?
We have nothing else to do, unless you got something you want to talk about.
No, well, the people we,
We had the public comment section. We'll catch them on our way out too. And we'll talk to the lady about the veteran stuff here in a second.
August 2nd is Wednesday, right?
August 2nd at 2 p.m. Okay.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion to continue. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Barton. Any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll do a vote by acclamation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any objections or abstentions? Hearing none? Meeting over.